Well, hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to another Deep Woods Paranormal podcast. My name is Matt Harvey. I am the founder and lead investigator with Deep Woods Paranormal. I am also the host of the Deep Woods Paranormal podcast. Tonight we have on Phil. He's previously been on with us. He talked about the abandoned funeral homes and a couple other places that he had gone into and was in the process of restoring. And so he had a lot of ghost stories, really cool ghost stories. So I don't want to get into too much. If you guys want to go back and listen to that, you're welcome to. It'll be in the link down below. And with that, Phil, welcome back.
Hey, it's nice to be back, Matt.
Yeah, so you've got some Bigfoot stories for us. I'm so looking forward to this.
Oh, yes. Just to give you a little background, I've been self-employed for the past 20, 25 years, and as a property manager for banks, investors all over the country. And all the properties that we manage are all empty. Some been empty for a week, some empty for years, and in different stages of deplorable up to brand new. And you can imagine after seeing 7,500 houses in 25 years, there's going to be some strange things that you encounter.
I bet.
Yeah. And I had one of the guys that worked for me. He said, Phil, we don't go looking for the paranormal. It seems to find us.
That's so true.
And he's right. How many houses did we go into and there was paranormal activity that we didn't even see, hear, or notice? But like with the Bigfoot stories I'm going to tell tonight, today, they were close encounters. I mean, that's all I got to say. They were close encounters. They got really close to us, and I'm telling you, for myself and the guys that were a part of it, it really did shake our foundation a little bit.
I bet.
Uh,
It's
well,
scary
it
when you run
also
into a giant ape in the middle of the forest, or
well,
even when it's just close to the forest.
it firms up your belief in cryptids and also in Bigfoot. And like this first story I'm going to share with you, this property was located, I think it's about 2018. This property is located in the Blue Ridge Mountains. You get off the main road, and then you get off another road, and you get off another road until you're just about down to a trail. And there the house is, and it sits right on a ridge, down in a almost going down into a canyon. So it's remote. I mean, no neighbors close by, and behind the house is nothing but miles and miles of untamed forest,
Wow.
undergrowth, and you can imagine it's just absolutely just a massive amount of forest behind it.
Sounds like my kind of house.
Oh yeah. Well, that day I got a work order to go to that house to do some work, and I had two crews working in that area that day, and one of the crews was riding with me. And I took them to the house about 12 o'clock, and I dropped them off, and I walked the entire property, and we kind of walked over what was going to be done. And I told them, I've got to go check on the other crew, and I have some other houses to go look at. And I informed them, I said, I'll be back before dark. And it was wintertime, when the days are short. And if you're in under a canopy of tall fir and pine trees, it gets darker even faster.
Oh, yeah.
So I left, and I saw that I was going to be running late. So I sent them a text and say, look, I'm running late. It's going to be after dark, but it's not going to be but maybe 30 minutes or so, because I left them with no lights. The house had no power, no utilities at all. There was not much of a moon that night, but they did have a little bit of moonlight, but not enough to do anything with. And I left it at that. Well, I'm at this property not far from there, and I get a text, and it says, where are you? And I sent back, here's where I'm at. And then I got another text back in all caps, hurry back.
Oh.
Hurry back. And, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? So I sent back, I said, is anything wrong? Again, hurry back. All they did was copy and paste what they had just sent.
Wow.
And I said, well, I really didn't know what was going on. So I sent back and said, I'm 20 minutes out. And I started driving back as fast as I could. But once you go off the main road, all of a sudden the roads become so primitive that you can't drive fast on there unless you want to tear your equipment up. So I finally got there. I'm at the top of the hill, and I'm about to crown the top of the hill when my headlights catch the front of the house, and these guys come bolting out of the front door, running to the truck and jumping inside. And I said, what in the world is going on, fellas? There's something on the back deck.
No, no.
Yeah. And I said, something. I said, yeah, there's something big on the back deck. I said, well, you think it might have been a neighbor or a hunter or a hiker? Or... He said, no, whatever it was, we could see it walking past the windows, and it was taller than the windows.
Dang.
And he's
How tall were the windows?
6 feet.
Okay.
So it was taller than a 6-foot window. Now here's a kicker. The front of the house is level to the ground. The back of the house is about 16 feet off the ground.
Wow.
Sitting on the side of a ridge. And so I said, we got to go back in there. We got to go find out what that is. And they were saying, no. I said, no, we got to go back in. So I reached behind the seat, and I keep a double barrel back there, street howitzer. I said, let's go see what it is. And we, on the way walking to the house, all of a sudden we heard this awful, just sound like a house was being demoed. And this crash and bang. And we made our way to the front door, and we kind of took it kind of slow, not knowing what was going to happen. And I got out. I had a headlamp on, and I got to the back door. And I walked out the back door, and I turned my headlamp to the left and to the right, and I turned it right first, and then I went to the left. And when I went to the left, the entire end of the deck was gone.
Oh, geez.
Yep, there was a porch swing there as well, and it had been pulled out of the ceiling joist on the porch. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was just, my processor in my brain was trying to, okay, what was it? And the first thing I thought, well, could it be a black bear? Because they're all over the place. And I walked over to the end thinking I was going to find a dead black bear on the ground. And I shined my light down, and the only thing down there was the debris from the deck. That was it. Nothing. The only thing it could have been, because a bear could not take that fall and survive. It just could not.
Wow.
Because once you hit the ground, it wasn't a flat piece of ground. It was also at a real steep angle.
Right.
And yeah, so they would have rolled into to a tree line there, and it would have killed them or seriously injured them. And I looked down, and I had my light, and I was kind of had my headlamp, and I was just kind of scanning the tree line, trying to see what was going on. And then all of a sudden, we heard this leaf. We heard deadfall, underbrush. We heard cracking and popping of leaves and branches just inside the tree line, and all we could catch was a shadow.
Dang.
And then we're just kind of like, and then it stopped, and we were just like, wow, what was that? And then just before we left, we heard this growl. And after the growl, we heard it sounded like something heavy was being knocked against a fallen tree. And I looked at the boys and I said, fellas, it's time for us to leave.
Right.
Whatever it is out here, it must not like us, and we just scared it, and it may want to come back for some more. So we got in the truck and we left, and we came back the next day, and we brought some rope so we could kind of rappel ourselves down the side of that hill. to see if there was anything going on down there. And when that Bigfoot hit that 10-foot rail and that swing, it broke the top rail in half.
Dang.
That's how fast it was going. That's how heavy it was.
Wow.
And we were sitting there in the driveway, and we were just kind of scratching our heads. And all of a sudden, a Jeep pulls up, and this Jeep said, "I saw you guys driving up the hill here." And he said, "I just want to see what was going on." I said, "Yeah, we're working on the house and all that." He said, "Have y'all seen him yet?" I said, "Seen who?" He said, "There's a Bigfoot that frequents this area, and the people who lived in his house the last two people lived in his house, left because of either sightings or hearing things in the woods that they couldn't explain. But he said that the people only lasted maybe 3 to 4 months, and they would leave."
Wow.
And because of that, the investor that owned it, he always let the people out of their lease. He never did, charge them for a penalty for checking out the lease early. And he did that because he did not want them leaving a bad review on his property. Yeah. Right. So we went back there several other times, but we didn't have anything else happen. And this next encounter, it was also in the Appalachian Mountains, and it was in eastern North Georgia. It also was out in the middle of nowhere, deep forest, except it did have a little bit of pasture land. Well, one of the things I do when we get a new property, I always look at a tax map, and I look at a Google Earth map, and I want to see if there's any water features, any creeks, lakes, and I also want to see if it might tell me if it's been used for an illegal dumping site. Well, right. there was a about an acre and a half pond in the middle of this place, and there was a primitive trail going back there. So so one of the things I do is I'll walk the property if I can. So I walked back there, and there was this nice pond back there. Cool. And I saw some fish turning over and everything else, and I said, "You know what? We're going to come back and fish this pond tonight, because we do like to night fish." So the guys that were with me, I said, "You want to come back tonight or this weekend and do some night fishing?" They said, "Sure." So we went back to the property. We had us like a day pack on us, so with our fishing gear in it, snacks, and had a camping chair strapped to it. We hiked back in there. We set up, and it was getting dark, and all of a sudden, it was just dark, and all we had was moonlight coming off the water, and we're sitting there fishing, and all of a sudden, there's this big splash in the middle of the pond.
That's a big fish.
Yeah, we thought, "Holy crap, man! That must be a 30-pounder rolling around over there." And all of a sudden, it happened again. And my processor once again was trying to scramble for a reason, and I started thinking that sounds just like a big rock falling in water.
Kerplunk.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
Then I stood up. And I was thinking, what could do that? And then my head went back. It can't be a man, because a 5-pound rock, they're not going to be able to throw it that far.
Right.
And the first time was in the middle of the pond. The second time was a little bit closer to us. And I started just trying to figure out what to do. Do we get up and run? What do we do? Do we wait it out? And all of a sudden, a third rock hit, and it was even closer.
Damn.
And I said, "Gentlemen, it's time to pack up.
Get out of my fishing hole."
We started grabbing our gear, and we started packing our backpacks up. And all of a sudden, we're starting to walk out of there, and we hear something just inside the tree line following us.
Oh no!
Yes, and it from the sound of it. It was something tall and something big. I'd already been walking through there, and the woods there were just impassable. I mean, they were so thick with overgrowth and privet and, cottonwood trees, sumac. And I said, that's not a man following us. That is something other than a man.
Right.
So we double timed it out of there. And as soon as we got to the truck, all of a sudden, something darted in front of the truck.
Oh no.
Yes, all
Not
we
so
could see.
fast.
Yes, surprise. And the whole time I'm saying, "We're leaving, we're leaving, we're leaving."
Yeah.
We're leaving here. We'll leave you alone. We'll let you have the fish in the pond. We're leaving, and on our way out, we got in the truck, and we couldn't go just flying out of there because it was just too rough. The road was just too rough, and I looked in my mirror, and I could see a silhouette probably 100 feet behind us standing in the middle of the road. I could not make out any kind of size but it was standing upright. It did look like a person, but its features were a lot bigger. And the next day we came back because we left some of our we ran out so fast that we left some gear down there.
Right.
And yeah, once again we're down there, and a neighbor who lives in that same area saw us. He followed us down in there, and he said, "I saw you guys last night. I saw your lights, your headlamps, all over the place. What happened?" We told him what happened, and I said, "Do you think that was a Bigfoot?" He said, "Well, a lot of the people around here say it. I think he called it a Dogman."
Oh no.
You ever heard of that?
Oh yeah.
He said, "What I saw," he said, he got up close and personal. He said, "What I saw was a Dogman." And I said, "Well, whatever we encountered was able to throw these large stones, 50 feet, in the air into the middle of the pond." And I said, "Can a Dogman do that?" He said, "Yes." He says, "I've had them throwing stones at me just driving down the road."
Wow.
And yeah, so I'm still got this question mark. Was it a Bigfoot or was it a dog man? And I don't know if the two can coexist in the same area, or if one,
Yes,
I
they
don't
are
know if
usually
there's
seen in the same area. Um, supposedly
are
they fight from time to time. Sometimes they kind of coexist. I talked to somebody in Wisconsin, I think it was. She said on one mountain range it's Dogman, on the other side mountain range it's Bigfoots.
yeah.
Both have bad attitudes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're I guess they're kind of territorial in a way. Uh,
yeah,
it's you're probably tapping in, or they think you're tapping into their food source, and
right. Well, if I
they're
walked into your kitchen and walked into your and opened up your refrigerator, started taking food out, you'd be like, "Hey, man, get
yeah,
out of my fridge!"
we'd have a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was something else. I mean, we had another encounter, not there, but another place, and they had this very, very large barn, and we were uh, walking out to the barn, and it was our first time to the house. Got a battery in here. We were walking out to the house, and
Seem to have lost you.
there, you
There we
there,
go.
there we go. We were at the house, and we were making our way to the barn. This was one big barn, and it had a loft in it. And we're walking out there, and there's a barn door, of course, on the front, and it's closed, and it's on tracks. So we open it, and we walk in. As soon as we walk in, we hear something in the loft just bolting down toward the back of the barn. And when it got to the back of the loft, it blew those doors off. I
Dang.
mean, literally blew it. It blew them open, and then one of them was kicked off the hinges.
Jeez.
So it's like, what's going on here? And all these happened within about the same 6 months. We thought, man, have we become a Bigfoot magnet? You
Right?
know, is it like the Jaws movie? Are they going to follow us home? You
Yeah.
know, and so once again, a few weeks later, we were there, and once again, a realtor come up this time, and he was asking us how everything went, and we're we're kind of apprehensive sometimes to tell people about the paranormal because we have to work with these people, and sometimes they think you're a quack, right?
Right.
And I'm sure you run into that too. So he said, "Have y'all had anything strange happen here?" We told him about the barn. We said, "Yeah." And I said, did you encounter it?" He said, "I sure did." He said, "When I encountered it, he was in the bottom part of the barn, the main barn.
Jeez.
And the bad part is the barn floor and the barn loft is covered with hay. So there's no tracks, no possibility of tracks. Uh, so, and I asked him, said, "What do you think it was?" He said, he thought it was uh, a dog man. That's what he said. He said, "I think it was." He said, "From what I've learned and studied," he said, "I think it's a dog man." And we kind of, well, it could be because I don't know how fast a Bigfoot can run. With a 14 or 18-inch foot. He's got a long stride, so he can make a lot of ground in a little bit of time. But what we heard were like the steps were closer together.
Hmm.
If you're 8 feet tall or 7 feet tall, you're going to have 5 feet of leg, and
Right.
you're going to be making some distance in a short period of time
Right.
because of the stride. But the footfalls are going to be further apart as well, and so the footfalls that we encountered were shorter together, and that's why we were leaning more toward uh, a dog man. But one of my guys back in 2019, he was at a property by himself, and it was wintertime. It was extremely cold outside, and he was in a barn inspecting it, and he swears that somebody was calling his name and calling for help out inside the barn.
Wow.
I don't know what that could have been, but he said his name was Eric, and he said Eric, and it would be the same tone and timbre. It would not flex up or flex down. It was Eric, and he'd say, "Yeah, where are you?" And then he would hear something saying, "Save me,
Yeah.
help." But it was almost like a recording on a loop. Uh, I can hear you. Where are you? Help me.
Yeah.
No direction or anything like that. But um, he he had an encounter there, which I don't know if it was a Wendigo, because I heard that bad things happen when you come encounter a Wendigo.
Yeah.
But
Wendigos are bad, and I've heard that they can actually do make sounds like that. So I got a dog here that's well, she's got a collapsing trachea, so she's up on my lap, but she's coughing her little head off.
uh, yeah,
She needs some
poor
cough
thing.
medicine. I'm gonna get her some medicine here in a minute. But yeah, yeah, Wendigos are bad. I'm not sure it's a Wendigo, but I've heard there's another creature out there that looks very similar to them. Maybe it's alien-like, tall, usually very pale, and they're out in the Appalachian Mountain area, and they've been reported. I don't know if they have a name yet, but they've been reported to sit there and call for help and stuff like that. I heard about a hunter that just had that happen to him. He was out doing hog hunting. He was out doing hog hunting that night, and he essentially had just moved from a tree blind, and he was moving across the pasture because he hadn't had any luck. And he was walking into another pasture, and he heard something in the rustling around, and he turned around and he had night vision scope, and he scoped this thing, and he's like, "What is this thing?" And it actually was over where he used to be, and it was literally like sniffing the tree and stuff like that,
Wow.
and smelling his scent. And then essentially it started to, uh, in a woman's voice, just make this scream, help me," like a woman was in trouble, trying to draw
Yeah.
him back in. Shh, take. But yeah, just
You think something like that can or is able to mimic your voice, but it's not able to completely get the tone and the timbre up or down. It's just
yeah.
monotone.
Well,
Monotone.
another thing I've heard is Bigfoots can actually mimic people's voices. There
Wow.
was this guy. He had a farm out in the forest area, and that's actually very common down here. Actually, he was out one night and he was just checking on his crops. He was walking the back of his crops, and his wife and his daughter were going into town, and he knew they had left, but he was walking out there or working out there, whatever he was doing, and all of a sudden from the forest, he heard his wife's voice call out to him. He called his name. And he looked around, he's like, wait a minute, what? I'm pretty sure they left. And so he turned, kind of started looking into the forest. He started calling out for her, and she said it again. And he looked in and he's like, what the hell? And so it happened, I think, the third time, and he freaked out and starts walking towards the house. And I think he was in the middle of a cornfield or something. And he was walking through the corn. He starts running through the corn, and he looks back and something's chasing him. And he was pretty sure it was a Bigfoot,
Wow.
but it wasn't making that same noise. It was just basically kind of walking behind him as he ran back to his house. He locked the door, and I think he
Wow.
called his sheriff or something. But yeah, I mean, so Bigfoot's we've picked up on Bigfoot's mimicking. They
Wow.
they can
Well,
mimic.
this same guy, he was at another property, a couple of years later, and it was getting close to dark. He was there by himself, and there was something that started banging on the outside of the walls.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, he said it was with a lot of force. And we, when I went out there to take a look at it, it was a vinyl siding, and wherever whatever was beating on it, it was tall, and wherever it would hit, the siding was damaged.
Jeez.
And but and part of the two sides of this house was steep angle, steep grade. So,
Yeah.
and it was so high that you would have had to have a ladder with some kind of stabilizer on it if you were to do it human wise. And he said that it would move so quickly from one wall to another. And that was his second encounter with a cryptid. And he said, Phil, I'm not going to another house in the Appalachian Mountains by myself.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, if I was going out there, I would basically make sure I had whatever I needed to, protect myself.
Yeah.
Dogmen
You
are
got time.
really
You got time
aggressive.
for, go ahead. You got time for another story?
Yeah, we have about 9 minutes left, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. This was a property up in the Smoky Mountains.
Okay.
And of course, the Smokies are part of the Appalachian Mountains. And this was over in on the border with Tennessee and North Carolina. And we had a house in there, and we were running late. And we got up to the house. It was after dark. All I had to do was go there and take some pictures of the inside of the house and just do a quick inspection. So we drove up there, and we walk in the front door, and we're all we got are headlamps, because all of the houses we work on are powerless. No power, no water, nothing.
Right.
So everything has to be done with headlamps, flashlights. So we walk in, we're walking around, and I start hearing this screeching noise, screech,
Weird.
and it was it just kept getting louder and louder in intensity. And I was shining my light around, and so I decided to go out the back door. I can't find what it is. Okay, let me go out the back on the back deck here, take some pictures of the deck with my light, and I walk out on the back deck, and I'm looking down at the deck with my light, make sure I'm not walking off in a hole, and I hear these screeches get louder and louder, and I was shining my light down at the wood line. This was a house on the side of a hill as well. I'm shining my light down there where the tree line meets the property line. See nothing. Then I raise my light up, and there's a dead tree with about 15 feet from the deck, and the tree was full of turkey vultures.
Wow.
Full of turkey vultures, and all of them looked at me when I shined my light. They're not going to fly away because it's dark and they're roosting.
Right.
But all of their eyes started glowing blue, and I just kind of slipped back in the house because I've never been that close to 20 turkey vultures. So I slid back into the house, and the guy said, "What's going on?" And I told him, I said, "Man, that tree's full of turkey vultures." And then at that same time, all three of our headlamps started blinking.
Weird.
Started blinking. You know, on the headlamps, you got a strobe, you got two intensities. Well, they started strobing, all three of them at the same time.
Strange.
And then one after another, they start going out.
Huh.
And I'm holding it. We're all holding our lights in our hands. We're popping batteries out. We're putting them back in. And I'm thinking this is not just an anomaly. There's something's happening here in this house. And I'm digging around my light. I'm looking, and we got almost a full moon. So we got clear sky. So we got some moonlight coming in. And I looked down this long hallway, and at the long hallway, I could see a shadow.
Wow.
I saw a shadow, and I motioned at the guys next to me. I said, "You see that?" And they were like, "Oh my gosh!" And all of a sudden, that shadow just darted into one of the rooms, just quick as you could blink an eye. It was darted in that room.
Right.
And we're looking at it, looking down that hallway, looking at each other, and we're saying, "Did we just see that?
Yeah.
Did we just
That's
see
always
that?"
did I just see that? Did you see that too?
Yeah, and it's like they asked me. They said, "Phil, how come stuff like that doesn't make you jump out of your skin?" I said, "I don't know." I said, if I'm more afraid of a carbon-based life form than I am a shadow."
Right.
You know, and they said we would have darted out of here if it hadn't. If you had darted out of here, we would have blasted out of here. And they started showing me their arms with their hair was standing up on it. And we're like, I said, "Guys, you just had your first ghost encounter."
Right.
I said, congratulations. I wished I had a couple of cold beers I could give you or some champagne. And about that same time, the back door I had left open, it slams shut.
Oh, geez.
Slams shut. We all three turn and look and see nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Dang.
And I said, "Fellas, whatever's happening now, it doesn't want us here anymore."
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
once again, I was saying, "We're leaving. We're leaving. We're sorry. We're leaving. Uh, we're going." And we walked out the front door, and we pulled the door to, and we got in the truck, and we were looking back. Now, give you a note here. We had already walked every room in this house. Every room had been walked. There was nothing in any of these rooms. No closet. The closets were empty. There was no one in that house. We go to the truck. We get in the truck, and we're kind of like scratching our head. It's like, wow, did that just happen?
Right.
Did that really happen?
Right.
And of course, my brain is trying to come up with something other than paranormal, but I couldn't. and we're sitting there, we're sitting in the truck looking at the house, and all of a sudden, one of the blinds just was jerked off the window. Just
Dang.
just bam, just jerked off the window. And we're like, once again, did you see that? Well, I saw that. And there was this shadow that came up to the window, and we could see it start to materialize in the window, as if, kind of like if you're walking up to someone in the dark, and you just get bigger and bigger as you get close.
Yeah.
It's like that. This shadow just kept getting bigger, and it also it got darker as it got closer, and we're sitting there looking at this shadow, and just the blink of an eye, it backed up, and it was gone.
Wow.
Completely gone. And I said, fellas, I guess we need to get off the property.
Right.
We're out of the house, but whatever it is, they don't want us in the driveway. So I said, let's go. So
right.
We left, and sometime later, about 6-8 months later, I was talking to the realtor. The realtor called me up and said, Phil, did y'all ever have anything strange happen at that house over in Gatlinburg, Smoky Mountains? And I gave him what happened. And he said, but the people who bought that house left it in the middle of the night, just absolutely panicked and terrified.
I bet.
Yeah, I said, wow. And he said they were able to stay there about 3 months, and the activity just never did let up.
That's crazy.
Finally pushed them out.
Wow. I'm going to cut you off here, but we're going to run out of time here. It's going to cut us off. So I just want to thank you again for coming on the show. Phil, thank you so much. And we will catch you guys on the next one.